Pretend
Recording in progress.
that recording is in progress. Thanks. Why don't you just pretend and see if you can hold that pretend? I mean, we're pretending all the time, right? We're pretending we're professionals. We're pretending we pay attention to Hector talking. We're pretending all sorts of things all the time. I invite you for the next hour or so, pretend you're already happy. You know what happy feels like. Pretend you already have insight. You know what aha moments feel like. Pretend everyone's your friend and not your enemy, and you don't have to guard yourself that the person next door's coming to get you. Like, can you pretend for a minute that things might be okay? And that in itself is powerful food for the state of mind we take out from the class. I can't do that for you. I can do it for me, and I've been doing it for a while, sometimes failing beautifully, but then getting up and succeeding again and again. So that's my invitation to you. If you've made your night, like your hour to come and hang out and listen to some weird guy with a beard because there's Buddhism or whatever the hell brought you here, can you just pretend things are okay? And then see what that tastes like? Because it should feel lovely. And no one's going to give you the lovely. You're going to have to produce it. Mummy and daddy aren't going to help you no more. They stopped helping you when they gave birth to you. They try, but they can't. Your own mind, your own world, your own insight is really up to you. And what habits we feed, we become. So the invitation to all of you who decided not to go get drunk tonight and come hang out on Zoom, and those of you in person, if nothing else happens tonight, we're going to talk about Buddhism, we're going to talk about practice and why meditation and a whole bunch of answers to your questions from last week. If you do nothing else, can you just pretend that things are okay? Like if you're sitting there listening, or if you're sitting there trying to make sense of something, what would it feel like to make sense of something without upsetness or without trouble or without that old story that you're not good enough or things don't work? By the way, they don't work, but pretend they do. They do. Yeah, they don't work the way we think they work. So that's my biggest hope for you. If any of you can leave this session after listening and connecting with each other and just go, oh, I created this feeling just hanging out with like-minded folk who are interested in something, whatever brought you here. Yeah. You've done a great thing for yourself, because that will have a consequence. You would have done a great thing for the poor bastards that you have to meet after, like your friends, family, and so on. Everyone else, they get to meet the nicer version of you or the chiller version of you. That's a good thing. You know, that's a kind of blessing in the world that you step into. And of course, there are techniques to do that really well, whatever, but I invite you to do that. Yeah. And now, that thing that I just invited you to do in traditional Tibetan Buddhist circles is called a mandala offering. Yeah. So this formal practices, and I told you last week, if you were here, that we would do this mandala offering and something. I'm just going to show it to you. If you ever go to a monastery, or if you ever see Buddhist practitioners, they'll do this chant and they do these funny hand gestures, but all they're imagining is exactly what I just invited you to do. What if the result of what you're seeking is already here? What if everyone you knew was just at peace and really relaxed and in love and no problem, like no problems? What if you were Buddha, woke up? What if you woke up from the pain doesn't have to be here, I can be in a state of bliss? Theoretically, right? What would that feel like? And so they do this thing called the mandala, and everyone here knows how to do that. Let's invite Koan in there. Cool. You don't have to do it, but just so you know, when you see it, you're not weirded out. And they go, Sashi, Bovi, Jajim, Toktron, Rirab, Jing, Derg, Party, Songa, Shindu, and then they go, Idam Guru, Namandala come. And so they go, I invite everyone to have this experience too. And it sounds mystical, and it sounds, because it's in another language and they do funny things with their hands. But doing funny things with your hands and making sounds don't change your mind. You changing your mind changes your mind. And so that's really the practice here. I invite each of you to find that. You've had it somehow. I know you've had it recently, where your mind changed, right? Where life is at you, and then something breaks, and you're like, oh, it was okay. Or I feel awesome. We're just inviting you to abide on the side of awesome. So all that to say, welcome. My name is Hector, and I found these practices 25 years ago in this crazy place called Three Jewels, which was a tiny, tiny place on 5th Street, between 1st and A. And it was just a nun called Annie Palmer and my teacher, Geshe Michael, and they just rented a space and just gave everybody free meditation and tea, yeah? And it brought in a bunch of crazies, and I was one of those, yeah? And then 25 years later, trying to practice that, Three Jewels has evolved, it's moved to different locations, and now it's this stunning little place in the corner of 3rd Street and the Bowery. This place was unrented for years, and it was concrete floors and a bunch of volunteers, other people who wanted to meditate and abide in that state of goodness and practice this crazy thing, which is, can I tame my mind from the negative and turn it into something good, and not just do it for me, but do it so other people can have it too. This place was built by them, funded by them, and built by them, so we could hang out. And so now we run this free or by donation classes in this place called Three Jewels, but the place is just a representation of the kindness of people who want to Buddha, who want to wake up. And if you're new to Buddhism, it's not the bullshit, sorry, I keep saying bullshit. It's not like that formal thing where you have to be Asian, you know, or you have to be monk or nun. It doesn't have to be that way. Any creature with a consciousness can Buddha, can wake up. And it's going to look different for you and for you and for you. It's going to look different, because you're somewhere else on the road. So this place that we're sitting in and streaming from, like the walls scraped and painted by volunteers, the floors scraped and painted by volunteers, the cafe built, and it's all run by people that just want to do this together. And it feels awesome. And yes, we have problems and we fight and we do all that stuff too, because we're human, right? So that's where you're at. If you didn't know, you're at Three Jewels, the enlightenment studio, the wake up studio, where a bunch of people got sick and tired of just living normal. So to me, walking into this place, it's a kind of screw normal. Why not abide in the possibility that there's magic inside of you, and the person that you don't know next to you, and the other face in the little box, there's magic there too. And so when you see, I don't know, Dana's name or Gopika's name or Dylan's name, it's not just a person with all your stories. What if behind there is real magic? Because that's possible. And then we study why that's possible, and we practice all the things that make that possible. And Tuesday nights, it's a very sort of loose discussion about all these practices that are wake-upism practices, Buddhism practices. And my job, if I do it well, is to try and share with you the practice without all the cultural settings, without all the ism. Like, what is it really to practice kindness? What is it really? Why the hell practice kindness? Why can't we just beat everyone over the head that's got something we want and take it? That would be faster. Like, I want your car. Give me your car. Why do we have to be kind to people? You know, we really find out why and the consequences of everything we do. And so this is what we study here. There's a ton of things. We teach yoga, meditation, we do community outreach programs, meditation teacher training, yoga teacher training, mentorships, retreats, anything of the ism that has practices to try and internalize these things So when we leave the experience, we can hold on to that part of us that is always there, but we amplify the good. Does that make sense? I just thought that was a bit long, but is that good? So I'm inviting you, please be Buddhas. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Nikita. Joanna from Australia, wake up, or whatever time it is over there. What's the time, Joanna? She just did our meditation teacher training.
Hi, it's 9:45 a.m.
Did you say 5:25 or 9:25? 9?
9.
Okay. Oh well, keep working then. No, welcome. Nice to see you. And Peter, hi, and Aaron. So I had a bunch of questions from all of you last week, and I'm going to try and answer some of them. Right. So last week I covered the idea that there's a difference between knowledge, learning stuff, and we should do that, right? But then it's a big leap to actually practicing it. And everyone says it's a practice. I have my meditation practice, and I have my yoga practice, and I have my practice. You are the practice. Like whatever your mind is observing is the practice. And sure, we allocate the meditation sit as the formal practice, but your mind is moving every millisecond. And that's a practice. You're always practicing something. Yeah? And the practice here is, what is your mind recording in the canister of your film in your mind, in your the reel that is projecting your reality, right? And that's got to do with what we call karma and emptiness. And we'll cover that. It's the foundation of all three. If you get that, any practice can turn on for you. And I'll try and get to that today. Yeah. And so we're always practicing something, meaning your stories that you're telling, the stories that you're creating in your mind build your identity and build your biases with which you step into the world, and then you assume those biases. The world isn't that. And the proof of that is that if you're biased towards this one piece of music that is just stunning for you, if the piece of music were stunning by itself, if it had stunning in it, then any bastard with an ear that heard it must go, stunning! Because the music is projecting stunning. It sounds really simplistic, and it is. It's so simple we miss it. If anything had a nature of stunning, everything that observed it would be affected by its stunningness. You couldn't help it because it's forcing stunning. Does that make sense? But you know that asking your best friend to really like your piece of music never works out. Like, doesn't always work out, right? We try and make friends with those that like our music, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. Does that make sense? So understanding that about everything in life is the understanding of karma, which is just the movement of the mind. My mind saying, this music is awesome. And emptiness, which is, if this music does not have the nature, it is empty of being awesome by itself. It is awesome with me watching it, but by itself can't be awesome. Why? He hates it. If it was awesome, he would love it. It's so simple, we miss it. And so if you've been at Three Jewels at all, hi, Baba. Canada's here. If it had any nature at all, everyone would be forced to experience that nature. And that's what we're waking up from, the illusion that things have a nature. That piece of music must be liked by everyone. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And then our minds create a samsara, a mini cycle of suffering. Something wrong with you, Angela. She knows there is. No. There's something wrong with you if you don't like my music. And this is the illusion. The illusion is that the music must have power. I'm right, she's wrong. And I just planted another movie scene where I saw myself harming an Angela calling her stupid in my mind because she didn't like my fake music that never had a nature of good in the first place. Wisdom in Buddhism means I realize it's still good music for me. It's good music for me, but I have the wisdom to understand it's empty of that nature. It doesn't have that nature. I can still enjoy that nature. It comes from me. That's a big deal. But not knowing that, misunderstanding that, thinking it does have a nature, makes me create a suffering cycle. You're stupid, Angela. And I just planted in my mind the imprint of you're stupid. Someone disliking me that must later emerge out of my mind onto blank screens like the music. And I get to experience people thinking I'm stupid, and I don't know where it comes from. It comes from my mind fabricating that experience, not because I chose it, but because I caused it without knowing. And so that's the foundation of all. If you unlock that, and it takes, how many times do you have to hear it? It takes a lot of times of hearing that and testing it against, is that true for the way I feel about my belly? Is that true for the way I feel about asparagus? Is that true? Like, your mind will have to go through stupid examples, and we're so habituated to think that things have a nature that our minds have a fart every time we try and think of the way I just explained it. And you just have to repeat it until you realize, oh my God, it's so simple. Of course things don't have a nature. If they did, everyone would experience that nature only. And as soon as there's any disagreement, things don't have a nature. The difference is coming from the perceiver, not the object. And we know that through scientific studies of light, whether they're particles or waves and blah, blah, blah. That's the main game in wake-up-ism. To be able to have a visceral experience that that's a truth, meaning that's the fabric behind the matrix that appears a certain way, but something else is going on. Finding out that something else is Buddha, is waking up. Well, it's on the way to waking up. You're like, oh shit, I can't force everyone to like my music, and I can't hate on people that don't like my music, because as soon as I do, I just planted more hate in my world to see more hate in my world. I hope you're hearing the power of this Buddhism, wake-up-ism. Don't be Buddhists, be wake-upists, okay? There's a difference, because you can be all religious. We tend to think that just like the music has a nature, being a good Buddhist has a nature. Bullshit. Dressing up in a certain way and having a certain posture doesn't create your mental movement, you see? And that's where the game is at. The game is stop trying to move all the items out there and focus on this thing in here, which is projecting your reality all the time. And as soon as you change the lens, or the frame of reference, you change the focal point to the way you're engaging with the world, and what are you really thinking, feeling, and wishing and intending, and that's what's planting your reality. Then you realize that after all that's been put into you, it must come out in the things that you do and people you meet and the things you engage with later on. Your mind will be projecting what you've put in there. You put in hate, you see hate. You put in possibility of love, you're going to see love. Seeds or karmas or mental movements are just like other seeds. You put in banana seeds, there's no banana seeds, I always do that mistake. You put apple seeds, you're going to get apple trees. You're not going to get lemon trees. You put bitter lemon trees, shitty thoughts in your mind, you must experience your mind experiencing shitty thoughts. And so all of a sudden this becomes a technology for choosing what goes into your consciousness and choosing how you behave in the world so you can see what's going on in your consciousness. And then if you understand cause and effect is the same as outside but inside, then you relax. You don't have to force anything. Angela's got a question. There's a section for questions. But go on.
What is the quickest way to do this? Because this is what I'm working on right now, is changing my thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, what I call like stop being a bitch in your head. And it's difficult because I practice this very seriously.
Yeah.
And so, not saying it out loud, you can do.
Yeah.
But I still
But the
hear-
thoughts.
But the thoughts.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is sometimes I'll hear other people and literally there's like, my intuition is like, that's what your thoughts sound like.
Yeah.
out loud. Right? So I'm like
Can you
what
hear
would
her
say-
okay? Yeah, good.
What would you say is the quickest way to turn around? Like the 6 times book?
Good question. So this is the purpose of the class. Angela asked, how do I stop being a bitch in my mind? Because I can stop my mouth and I can stop basically that, right? That's what you asked. Yeah. She's like, I can pretend not to be a bitch with my hands. I can pretend not to be a bitch with my mouth, but oh my God, my mind. Right, good. And she's like, what's the quickest way to tame that mind of ours? No, you're screwed. No, sorry. You can't do it. No. It's a good thing, right? So it's a good question. And there isn't a simple answer. I'm going to give you the philosophical answer from Buddhist thought, and then that applied becomes very difficult. And then there are a ton of practices dependent on your mental biases, how you see yourself and the world, which one you have to maneuver. But I'll say this. It's, except for dulce de leche ice cream, it's easy to control your body. Okay? Or whatever that dulce de leche weakness is for you, right? Except for that one thing, it's easy to control your body. You can not punch someone. You can get to the point of not punching someone, right? Or harming someone. You can like sit on your hands, you can leave the room. In fact, all these Buddhist books from the 700s or 350 AD, like the course that Sarah, is Sarah here? Outside, Sarah and Earl are teaching on Thursday nights. It's a 3-part course, a training called The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which means all the training, all the stuff you do to turn yourself into a compassionate, loving wake-uppist. Like, take care of everyone, including yourself. It's an awesome course. And in that book, which is called the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, written in around 700 AD, it said there's a whole bunch of things to control your impulses, right? And they say, if you're fiery and something's moving in your mind that you want to punch someone or you want to get into an argument or you want to say something, one of the techniques for someone at that level of practice is get the hell out of the room. Like just leave the situation so you don't hurt anyone, because you don't want to plant that seed in your mind, right? The other one is if you're a little bit more advanced and you really want to punch someone, then think you're a bump in a log that says it's just don't move and it'll pass, okay? And these are all like band-aid examples. Whenever you get that urge, it's not that hard after enough practice to control your body, to not harm yourself and others. The mouth is a little different, right? Like especially for you. No, I know Angela for a long time. That's why I can play with her like that, right? You should see her mouth. No, I have pictures of it. But it's true, right? Like there's a bunch of us. I've dated people who don't know what they're thinking until they say it, right? Like they're like, oh, that's what I thought. It's already come out. There's consequences to your actions. So it's good to not punch. Use your body not to harm. Bodhisattva Charyavatara, all these practices about developing that, right? Then there's a bunch of practices on developing, choose what you say with this mouth, because it also has impact, not just out there, but in there. You hear yourself saying stuff, right? And that gets recorded in you. Sometimes I can say something terrible, and the person to whom I said something terrible is not affected. They're just in a different mood. Yeah? But I know my intention, and I eat that up. Like my mind recorded that frame of the film. And I have to have a consequence for that cause. That seed must ripen. Seeds grow into big things. Little things grow into big things the more time that they're in there, right? And that's the teaching on karma. It's not like some magical thing. Karma's happening all the time. Your mind is perceiving all the time. Those things came from somewhere. And no one put it in there except your intentions from your actions from before. That's all karma is. So there are practices, so many, to control the body. There are practices, so many, to control the mouth, right? And so the same is true for controlling the mind. And there's a bunch of practices, namely called meditation, right? Where you begin to choose where your attention and awareness go. And we can get really detailed. You've done the meditation teacher training. I don't know why the hell you're asking this question. No, but if you've done the 3 Jewels meditation teacher training, we go into the importance of attention, like hold your attention on something. It doesn't mean everything else disappears. The peripheral is still there, but your focus is here. And that is a muscle. You've got to get that muscle going. You've got to get that muscle going to try and remain attentive to the thing you chose. Don't let the crazy mind drag you away. It will. But the practice of meditation, the study of meditation is develop that prolonged attention until you really have pliancy over your mind. That even if there's a shiny object or a big noise or a whole story going on over there, your awareness steps back and you choose where your awareness goes. Pointedly, sharp. That's the whole. Meditation is not some other mystical thing. It's just that. Can you hold attention on what you choose, or is it just going crazy like everyone else on the planet? I need that, I need that, I need that. Animals do that. We have more capacity than that. Actually, animals have really good concentration when there's prey, or there's fear. We have it too. But can you deliberately do that? That's the practice of meditation. Now, meditation by itself won't help you. So I'm glad you asked this question, because this is where you need wisdom. This is where you need to understand that everything you do with your mind will have a consequence in your mind. So here you are. Let's say I know you meditate. I know you can meditate. You choose to pay attention to what's going on in your mind, and initially you're going to see more garbage than you saw before. Like if you've meditated and started a meditation practice, put up your hand if within 3 months you saw more terrible things in your mind than you thought you had. Like, yeah, there's a ton of people. That's a natural good thing about meditation. Those terrible things were always there. You just didn't have the view to see them. So now you're practicing that view, and you're going to see stuff that you weren't prepared. Many people recoil from the wake up party that we're doing and say, oh, I'll stay over here. That's too harsh to look at. Earl, who's teaching the Thursday night class, he did a 3-year, 3-month and 3-day meditation silent retreat. And when I first met him, he had just come out of that, and I was so excited to talk to him about what's your biggest insight about meditation, like thinking he was going to have an aha moment. And he's like, my mind is garbage. Like, we are insane, And so his biggest, he had other ahas, but the first thing he told me was, if you really spend a lot of time with your mind, if it was all forced on you right now, all the stuff that you've got in your mind, you will be overwhelmed. Yeah? So meditation is a gradual practice. Now, why am I saying all this? Because Angela said, what's the fastest way to control this mind of mine? Train your mind to pay attention first. But that's not enough, right? Hound dogs can pay attention to the fox. You need wisdom. You need to understand that every micro movement of your mind will have a consequence, and that you can amplify certain things by creating heightened emotion, and you can reduce certain effects of the attention, the seeds or the frames that you're recording in your mind, by understanding their illusory nature, that they're in illusions, that they're not what they appear to be. Like the music doesn't have the nature. So you can reduce the effects of some things, and you can amplify the effects of others. And so the first hurdle that I think we face once we've controlled the body and then the mouth, and then we are begin meditating is we still have the habit that we're all pieces of shit, that we're not good enough, that I'm a terrible person, that look at me being an ass, look at me being a bitch. You're recording each one of those things and they will come back and prove to you that you're right. So be careful when choosing to focus your attention on something of the background story, the narrator in the film going, oh, Angela, there you are again. Look, she said that bitchy thing. You're a bitchy thing. You just believed again that you're a bitchy thing. So the best technique that I know there is karma, or the arising of things in your mind. Karma has two parts, right? The arising, the result of the seed, which is the plant, yeah, which makes more seeds. Or the cause, the planting. Karma is both the planting and the result. Yeah? Why? The seed gets planted, it makes more seeds. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? You don't have a choice about the thought that popped up that said, you're a bitch. That's a result. That's a fruit of what you've planted before. Don't let it hook you into believing it and creating more of that story. This is where your awareness has to go. That's why building awareness in meditation is vital. You're like, oh, there is the bitch cycle that wants me to believe I'm a bitch, and it'll just create more bitchness. So you need to step away from that and see it for what it is. It's just a cycle that's going to produce more of the same, and say, I choose my second thought. I acknowledge there's bitchness in here, or whatever that thought wants me to hook into. I am a terrible person, and all the subsets of that story are in that aha. You see it for what it is. Oh, here is this bitter fruit. As soon as something ripens, as soon as the plant comes out of the seed is gone. You can't make another plant from that one seed. You might have a ton of bitch seeds, but this one won't be reproduced unless you plant another I'm a bitch. Do you see it? Does that make sense to people? So at first you get to acknowledge, oh shit, there's that seed again. I'm not thinking I'm a bitch. I'm a nice person, right? So you move your mind with intention towards a different attention. Where am I not a bitch? Where am I kind? Or disassociate from the identity of I am that and say I am the watcher of that dynamic, and maybe have compassion for that bitch. Like, oh, poor bitch, she thinks she's a bitch, she's making more bitch. Oh, look at that cycle. I love you. Yeah, I wish you weren't doing that. So that's one technique. But you need to have this awareness that what arises isn't who you are, it's what you have. You have seeds like that. You're not that. But you get to choose what you become by the thought or the intention or the action towards that hook. You don't have to be hooked. And doing that is Buddhism, wake-up-ism. I'm waking up to the fact that if I continue down the bitch cycle, I'm just going to create more bitch cycles. I don't want that. No longer serves me. Now there is a bunch of practices or techniques that can make that faster. But you can't make anything faster without that wisdom first. Right? Does that make sense for everyone, or am I blabbing? Yeah? Cool. Another technique to make a seed grow faster, or the new inertia that you're building, that's got inertia, right? The downward cycle of I'm not good enough or I'm a bitch, that has inertia. Buddhism says you can use the inertia. That's a powerful part of your identity, assuming that's your identity, right? I have a bunch of those. Nice big frames of reference that thinks I am that and that. More advanced Buddhist practices wants to ride those inertias and say, I'm using that to really transform because it's fast, it's got energy, it's got fuel, right? So then one way to do that is I'm going to try and lean into the things that make me feel I'm a bitch, but not to feel like I'm a bitch, but to kill it, to get upset with it, to work through it, to transform it. So you put yourself in situations, and I'm not suggesting you do this early on, I'm trying to say more advanced. You put yourself in situations where you get to see the bitchness come up with before it hooks you. because you've got a strategy to say, now I'm going to amplify the good one or the positive version of that cycle, a new cycle, but it's got that inertia. And one way to do that is the bodhisattva path. Say, I'm overcoming this affliction in my mind because it doesn't have to continue if I change its flavor by choosing what I do next, because that records the seed. And I'll do it, and you sort of, it's not, I said it to Tanya, it's not guilt tripping yourself, but it sounds like that, right? You are aware that if you said, if I can transform this emotion and stop its negative consequences, and in its place use that energy to create a really positive consequence, like what I choose to become, what if I did that not just for me, but the people around me that I care about? And all of a sudden, you're way more interested in taking care of this mind because it will serve your daughter, your brother, your sister, your husband, or whatever it is. And that's called the bodhisattva path. I'll wake up for the sake of others too, not just for the sake of others, okay? We make that mistake all the time. I'll be in trouble and I'll take care of everyone. That's victimism, that's not Buddhism, don't do that. I want to transform this mind of mine. It's got garbage in it. I'm not the garbage. It's got garbage in it. Let's clean the garbage. Let's do it really fast. To do it fast, let me do it for the sake of people that are really important to me. And then that sort of multiplies what you're planting in your mind, the intention, by as many people as you give a shit about. Yeah? And so then in Buddhist wake-uppers practice, the bodhisattva path, to amplify that, you extend yourself and go, well, why just the people I like? What about people that are really troubled by their minds and they can't control it? What if I did it for them? What if I could figure out how to stop one negative cycle in working with this emotion? And then I'm capable of helping all the people that don't know how to do it. All of a sudden, you're way more interested in transforming your mind. And then through Buddhist practice or wake-uppers practice or whatever you call this thing, is it possible to do your actions in the world of body, speech, and mind for the sake of everyone that has a mind? Nice people, neutral people, and terrible people too, who are just at the whim of their bullshit minds, who have just lived, I'm a bitch, and now I'm going to hate on everyone, and they're just creating more bitchness. Can I do it for them? And that's a method for whatever work you're doing with your mind, not buying into the story, but trying to transform the story and like, I killed that story, and instead I'm going to amplify a good seed, and I'm doing that for the sake of mom and my friend and the neighbors and the neighborhood and New York City and everyone on the planet, and then you get this uplifted feeling, and that's a practice. All of a sudden you just moved your mind from I'm a bitch to planting the seeds that made this world be a better place. Which one do you want to result? Which one will be your result? It'll be this one. Does that make sense? I could have said it simpler by saying, don't focus on the first thought, focus on your second thought. But I wanted to give you like a flavor of what the practice feels like, since we're talking about practice. Okay, how are we doing for time? I'm probably rambling on again for too long. I am. Damn it. Thanks, Angela. You can all blame Angela, okay? Okay, I'm going to answer some questions, and then I'm not going to put you into breakout groups today because we got no time. Thanks, Angela. I'm just playing. Okay. Some people asked, a couple of questions were in relation to desire, and there's this myth that wake-uppists or Buddhists don't have desire, that desire is wrong. And I want you to think about, what does that really mean? Is desire wrong? Like, think about it. I used to be one of those people, by the way. I used to go, yes, you have to be desireless, and then I'll be at peace. I used to really think that. Is that true? Like, what do you think the result of all these practices is? Is it to be completely desireless? Right? And it wasn't until my teacher said, no, the Buddha has desire. And I'm like, what? Buddha's broken? But a Buddha Buddha, if there's such a thing, an evolved mind who's gone beyond the suffering experience and are walking around having a divine experience because they've caused it with what they've done with their body, speech, and mind, right? If there's such a thing as an ultimately evolved consciousness, we call Buddha, woke up. If there is such a being, which logically we could talk about, and so we won't do it now because we've got no time. Do they have desire? My teacher's like, of course they do. They desire that everybody can also wake up and don't have to suffer. I'm like, damn, that's true. Like you would, right? If there was anyone suffering and you knew it was possible not to suffer, you'd have that desire to have other people. But what's the difference between a wake-upper's desire, the Buddha's desire, and a regular desire? And the difference is misunderstanding of where things come from. The difference is ignorance about how things come about. My music has the nature of goodness, and those that don't like it are stupid. That creates a suffering cycle. Music doesn't have a nature. Some people experience it negatively. Some people experience it positively. I wish everybody experienced it positively. Do you see the difference? This one will cause me to harm others. This will not. The Buddha has desire that people stop suffering. And you can develop that desire. And that will result in you not suffering. It's an awesome perpetual cycle. It's using the cycle that we're used to with ignorance, and it's just the same cycle. We create the causes for the result by our actions. And if our actions have wisdom, the wisdom that understands things don't have a nature, emptiness, sorry, it's too many words, then it's an upward spiral leaving you with bliss. The other one, a downward spiral leaving you with suffering addiction. Because you harm because you think you were harmed, and so you have to harm because you were harmed, and that just creates more harm. And then doesn't matter what comes up, you love and transcend, and you love and transcend with wisdom because things don't have a nature, and that creates love and transcend. It sounds really simple. I can say words about it, but I'm 25 years into this practice and I still have shit in my mind. I don't identify with it the way I used to anymore though. And if I told you it would take you 25 years, would you do it? I wouldn't have. And my teacher was really skillful. He found what my weak point was, where I got stuck in samsara. And then he gave me a practice for that. And then when I proved it right for myself, when I used this method to remove one major suffering from my world, then it worked. And it took me a few months, but it worked. Then I owned the system. My mind understood. Not here, but viscerally. I couldn't deny that I caused a cycle to stop. And then I was hooked. Upward spiral hooked. But if he had said, in 25 years, you will have to sit in a room with other beings and describe desire about wake up, I would have pissed off and gone drunk, get drunk again, you see? Your path to awakening, your path to what you deserve, your path to all the things you really wish for, no one's going to give it to you. You have to enact it. How? Control your body, not too hard. Control your mouth, everyone except Angela. Pretty easy. But then this mind of ours, and the mind is not your body, and your identity of yourself is not your mind, your consciousness. Your mind is infinite. Like it has no limit. Your body has a limit. There's no limit to what you can experience in consciousness, especially if you're unbound to physical realm. And so my invitation, I don't know if I was rambling too much, and I'm sorry we didn't get to too many questions. We've got 10 minutes. I've got a couple more. Is can you return to that place where things are possible for you? Like if you felt 1 millisecond of bliss ever in your life, then that's it. You have the equipment. You can do it again. But it didn't come from the stuff you engage with. It didn't come from the music or the girlfriend or the car or the boyfriend or the thing. It couldn't have. Otherwise, everyone would be magnetized to the girlfriend. Everyone would be on that girlfriend, which is a problem. Yeah. Unless you're Britney Spears. No. I promised myself that I would teach these classes not formally with scripture and all the stuff that I've studied for the 25 years, but that I'd try and really give you a sense of the capacity to practice. And so what I really want for you is to stop thinking normal's normal, like normal is the way to go, that you have to live a human life like every other human expects you to. I really want that for you. If you stop dreaming because something's beaten it out of you, kill it. Don't waste this life in being what you think other people expect you to be, or thinking you have to follow that path because some stupid person told you you had to go to university and get a picket fence and half a dog and whatever the story is you're doing. Unless that's your life and that you love that and you want to do that, then do that, right? But whatever the hell you do, guaranteed no one will give a shit in 100 years, okay? Guaranteed. All the hard work you're doing, it's down the toilet before you're dead. It's true, and you're going to be dead. So what are you going to do? If I really had to share with you what I really want to tell you is, don't get hypnotized by normal. It doesn't have to be. You used to dream. You used to have hope. You used to believe in magic, and then you got hurt because you can't play and be magic and be an adult. And that's bullshit. You need discipline to meditate, to choose your attention. And the older you get, the harder it gets, I promise you. My brain struggles now compared to 10 years ago to build a new habit. But you can build a new habit anytime. So if I had to tell you anything about all these questions, there were all these questions. Well, easy question to answer, okay? What's the best meditation posture to take? There's lots of detail. The posture is relax this body. Just make sure it's so relaxed you don't even feel it. You can abandon it. You don't even have one. You're pure consciousness. The erect spine is good if you're going to do more advanced things. So habituate your body to get this elongated spine. It's nice. If you can't do it, come to the edge of a chair. It's okay. Feet on the ground, no problem. If you need to lay down, lay down. It's better if you can. Habituate in your posture. Make it special. So that's one thing. Is Javier here? Javier? Is Hannibal here? Oh yeah, I saw Hannibal before. Hannibal's here. I got a question about all the Buddhists that I see don't have children. Can people with children, young children, also practice Buddhism? There's Hannibal. He's a dad. Can you grab your offspring or not?
Yeah.
Show us her. Is that inappropriate? Controversy. Oh my God! Hello! Look, we're all looking at you! Run away. Okay. Yes, look. Hi. How are you? Can you give Daddy a kiss for me? Thank you. Go on. Thank you. Thanks, Hannibal. Yes, parents can be Buddhists. In fact, it's actually, if you want to fast track, Angela, have a kid. I know you've got some, yeah? And it's a fast track in either direction, okay? Your mind amplifies. And the good thing about being a parent, I'm not a parent, I'm an uncle 8 times, yeah? And I've sort of pseudo-adopted kids in orphanages and the rest. But to have another being to think about stops you thinking about yourself in a way that I don't think I've done it like my siblings have done it. Yeah, and if you're a parent, you're forced into all the time thinking of this other being. Or if you just have the impulse to care for children in general and their mental well-being and the rest, you're on another level. Yeah, because already you've developed that habit of there are others in the world that deserve kindness, and that might be more important than my story. So the answer is yes, you can be a wake-uppers with kids. In fact, it might, if you know the practices, it might fast track the result. It will fast track, not might, it will fast track everything you do. It amplifies it. Right, Hannibal? Yeah. Yeah, and so we have a bunch of mums and dads in the Sangha, in this group of people that have been studying at Three Gurus for 8 years, 9 years, or the rest. And there's a cliquey parent group, right, which includes Javier and JJ and Hannibal and a bunch of people. And so the question was, who can I learn from? And you can learn from any of these people with parents. So maybe you can send in the question at the end of class. You could say, can you connect me to the parent group? And so that's a possibility. There's a ton of other questions, but we got 5 minutes. I usually said we were going to meditate, but I think I rambled, and I think it's okay to ramble. My invitation that I moved away from because I was getting emotional is like, whatever it takes to begin to see the magic that's there in your mind. We call it wake-upism, Buddhism. But it's really the game of what archetypes do you believe are you? And what archetypes do you believe is the world? And working with those archetypes, as soon as you see someone, as soon as you see a thing or you experience a situation, this archetype pops up and you believe that's the story. And that's not. Meditation will let you see it for what it is. It's just a mental frame on a reality. And that reality has infinite possibility because it's empty of a nature. Therefore, it doesn't have to be the shitty one. It could be an awesome one because you've had bliss and you've had trouble. Which one do you want to be? And there's lots of practices and methods to get us there. The fastest one is pretend. Just pretend, because that lets your mind really, first of all, seed your mind that embodiment is possible. You've just planted those seeds in your mind, and that's what will come out when the circumstances are right. So I hope that helped everyone. I want to say thank you. We're going to put, if you have your phone and so on, we're going to put the QR code for questions if you want to ask specific questions about practices and the rest. I want to promise that next time we'll create breakout rooms because I want you to have shared experiences where you talk about specific things and help each other, because that's a fast track. And I want to say thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. where I'll get not to cry and tell you about other awesome things. Yeah, thanks for coming. Feel good about yourself and think good about all the people that joined you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hannibal, you're still highlighted. You are the only person on the call. I love you. Thanks for joining. Are the borders open and we can go there or not yet? No?
Canada has open borders. US, oddly enough, has not.
Oh, it's us? Okay.
Yeah.
Love to the family. Thanks for joining. And goodbye, everyone online. Love you. Thanks for joining.